Let's start.
Okay.
We started.
All right.
Welcome to the show.
Have time to turn on the stylophone. All right, hold on. Okay.
All right.
There
good.
we go. It had its part.
That's our theme song now.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Don't Get Your Hopes Up, the show where I don't know, stuff happens. I am Josh Allen, aka Lore, joined as usual by Mike B, aka Fony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things happened, and let's talk about them.
All right.
All right.
We were gone.
Yeah.
Do we have to address that? I feel like we were gone like every other week, so it's like whatever. Okay, so anyway, move on.
Yeah, it's been like 3 weeks since we did the last one of these.
What? Really? Because I
were
went on
out.
vacation.
And then you forgot to launch Skype.
Well, I mean, I just got back. My brain wasn't 100% yet.
Yeah, so we missed like 2 weeks basically.
Okay, whoops. All right, well,
But now we're
that
back.
deserves something. Okay, now we're back.
We've committed, of course, to the highest quality as usual, as you can tell from how good this show is.
The consistency is key when
Yeah.
you make content.
Yeah, really. Like when you're making content, consistency is important, and we do our best to maintain the exact consistency as shit. So
Yeah.
like the texture, everything. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So speaking of shit, I could go literally anywhere with that.
You could probably, just use a Ouija board for this one.
Yeah. So oh no, this is a good lead in. So speaking of things that are the exact consistency of shit, this is more of a quick note than anything else. But interesting stat from Steam. This came through ARK Gaming. Admittedly, yesterday. So who knows what could have happened by now.
Things change very quickly.
Things do change very quickly. But yesterday at about 9 p.m. GMT, which is I believe that's Pacific time. Excuse me. 9 p.m. GMT would be I don't know what that would be Pacific time. Anyway, doesn't matter. There were more people playing Spore on Steam than No Man's Sky. Spore, I will remind you, came out in 2008 and was not good. No Man's Sky came out about 2008 hours ago. So I feel bad. I really do. I feel bad. It's a game that obviously there was a lot of hype around it. There was a lot that was put into it. But this in a lot of ways, I think that the No Man's Sky situation is indicative of why indie devs tend to not get mainstream support as often. Because for every Fez that comes out, for every give me another good example, every Rogue Legacy that comes out, everything along those lines, that's just like, oh wow, this is an amazing game. More people should know about this little indie game that came out that's actually amazing, and it's sweeping the world by storm. For every Stardew Valley that comes out, there's a whole bunch of No Man's Skies where someone had a really good idea that they knew what they wanted to make, they knew what it could be, they mostly knew how to get there, and then just did not quite deliver. And that's kind of what seems to have happened with No Man's Sky, where there was this really, really cool idea of, you can go literally anywhere, and like there's all this giant world to explore. And then they kind of forgot what that actually meant in terms of gameplay. And then No Man's Sky came out.
Yeah, it's they did well, I would say they. I'm sure there's a very hardworking dev team there that's doing what they can. Being led by a fucking maniac who like insists on preaching about all of these cool features that are going to be in the game and then not delivering on any of them, and then not telling anybody that all those features that you talked about are going to be they're not going to be in the game. It is now the 8th of September. The last tweet we got from the official Twitter, from Sean Murray's Twitter, was the 18th. Now, Sean Murray's Twitter is the @NoManSky Twitter, so we could go ahead and call that the official No Man's Sky Twitter, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, just general note for indie devs, don't make your own personal Twitter the official Twitter for your brand. I'll just give you that knowledge for free. Free consultation. Don't do that.
Yeah. It's I mean, there's such a huge collection of times when, and I get it. Like, I get it. You have a whiteboard or a bulletin board or whatever that has all these sticky notes all over it of all these cool features that you're like certain are going to make it in. He's like, yeah, this sprint we're going to work on this and this, and we're totally going to get this through to the next, and then we're going to get it. We're going to get there. I could talk about those things because it's expected that those things are going to be in, and then when those things fall apart, it would be wise to say, either one, push it back again, right? Because it's already pushed back once, or to come out and say, hey, so these features aren't coming in, but we're going to be putting them in soon. We're working hard to put them in soon. Just by saying that, you're probably going to piss off a lot of people, but you're also going to get a shitload of people on your side, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because every time someone's like, yeah, I didn't even launch multiplayer. What's about it? Like, well, yeah, they said they're going to put it in. That shit's hard. And then everyone's going to start talking about how difficult it is. You're going to get all these, like, these bedroom programmers are talking about, like, how difficult it is to put multiplayer. And they're going to be there to defend you. But they didn't do that.
Yeah. Even like yes, we're working on adding that. You don't even have to give a time frame. Just say, we are spending time on that. It's so big. Like, and this is why, like, companies like Blizzard, we tend to be very, very shy to talk about stuff that's in the works. And the biggest reason is, like, I have no doubt whatsoever that No Man's Sky, like, that guy was planning to put every single thing in the game that he said he was going to. And just the reality of game development, the reality of any software development, is that the closer you get to launch, honestly, this is true for pretty much every project that's ever existed. The closer you get to the time that it needs to be done, the more you start to go, shit, we don't have time for that. All right, I guess cut it. Shit, we don't have time for that. I guess cut it. Like, there's stuff planned to come in patches for Legion that right now, like, as far as the dev team is concerned, that's 100%. Yes, that's going in. It will be in certain patches in the game. But we don't talk about that stuff because until it's, like, mostly done and, like, actually close to being finished, we cannot possibly
or something.
Exactly, yeah. We cannot possibly, basically, until it's on PTR, we can't be sure it's actually going to be in the game.
Yeah.
Just prior to, like, obviously we're sure that 7.1's going to have Karazhan, it's going to have Trial of Valor, etc., and that's why we're able to talk about that at PAX recently. But even then, that's the sort of thing where we're like, yeah, we're not going to go into too much detail because we don't know how much we're going to change our minds by the time this thing comes out.
Yeah, so Sean Murray he basically screwed that dev team by not communicating. He's obviously in charge of communication. He's the guy running out promoting it, being very excited about it. Everyone was really excited and standing behind him like, yeah. And he had this massive army of fanboys that was just like, yeah. And he could have mobilized them by saying, yeah, this stuff was coming. Hey, we're trying to deliver a great product to you guys. But then he just goes radio silent. Like, this is totally Cube World, right? Like, it's like, yay, we made a ton of money, and then just quiet. Now, Cube World is still actually posting updates. It's 2 years out, but he's posting Twitter updates of random stuff, that he's working on. But I mean, but in the first week of launch, Wally was still talking. He was still like talking about like this because the stats were like all blown crazy or whatever. And he was, whatever. But anyway,
and also
it's like
Cube World wasn't like announced at a Sony press conference to be the most amazing new thing that was going to come out.
Totally right, and that's man.
Like you set a lot of expectations for a product when a major brand starts to get behind it like that. And if you're not able to deliver on those expectations, you need to be upfront about that. And you need to, like, it. I would not be surprised at all if Sony was just fucking furious right now. Like it, if No Man's Sky gets like all of its support pulled and everything, and no updates come from it, I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that it's because Sony said, no, you fucked up, and we don't trust you to do anything with this, so we're pulling all support.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think they. I mean, I don't think they're pissed. I think they're just like, I think that they already have their scapegoat, right? Well,
they did make a fair chunk of money off of it.
Yeah,
so
they made a shitload of money, and no one's gonna hold it against Sony.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, I mean, they basically walk away from this thing just scot-free. Everybody that knows about it, is putting in for the refunds on Steam and on Amazon, and also I think also on Sony. On yeah, I can't remember if the Sony was jumping on the bandwagon too, but yeah. I mean, the name, if he doesn't say anything like in the next 10 days, I put up a poll. I said, I can't remember what the other option was, but it was like, what are the two things that are going to happen? Oh yeah, I'd say he's either going to give an exclusive interview to IGN that's going to basically talk about how dev is hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's a sympathy interview basically, or they're gonna release a patch that's gonna have like a ton of really great fixes and everything. And I think it was like 75. It was basically 3-1 saying that the sympathy interview is going to come, because we've seen this kind of stuff before. Like, like people will go quiet, or they'll get bombarded, and he'll probably talk about how he's being harassed and people threaten to kill me and all that. And it's just like, oh man, like that sucks. Like, that really does suck.
And like there's never an excuse to threaten a game developer's life.
Yeah. But
it doesn't make the game better.
Yeah, exactly. However, it would be nice if he at least communicated to people. I mean, just in general, like, it would be fucking nice if he just communicated. Anyways, that's it. We're spending more time on talking about it than people have played hours worth in this game today.
Yeah, definitely. And like I always have to be a little bit like sort of rolling my eyes when stuff like this happens, as someone who is in the game communications industry. When a developer, specifically a developer with no prior experience in communications, decides, you know what, I'll just do all the communication myself, no problem. Like, it sounds stupid. It really does. Like, I have the most Office Space job imaginable, which, you know the scene in Office Space, I think I've said this on this show before, but you know the scene in Office Space where, what's his name, the like really nervous guy, they sit down and they're like, what would you say you do here? And he's like, well, I talk to the programmers, and then I talk to the customers. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, well, you see, programmers are really bad at talking to customers, and customers are really bad at talking to programmers. And like, that scene sort of makes fun of that.
Yeah.
But that's actually 100,000% true.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is the honest
truth.
True. Like, you really need somebody, especially for a title as ambitious as No Man's Sky. You need somebody who can look at what the dev team is doing and go, okay, hang on, I need to call you out on your shit right now, because you're saying you're going to do all this. There's no way you're actually going to pull all that off. I don't believe you. We should not be announcing any of this until we're sure it's actually going to happen. And you also need somebody who can look at what the players are saying. When the players are going, this game sucks, this game's boring, this game is not what we wanted, like, able to interpret that feedback, because a lot of times it actually is pretty difficult to figure out what players mean when they're upset at a game. Like, there's for every player who can put together a nicely detailed post that says, these are the exact issues that I had, here's why I don't like this section, etc. There's someone else who just goes, either they hone in on what they think is the problem, but the problem is actually something else, or they think about a feature that they would like to have, and they phrase everything as a suggestion for, you should add this feature, instead of here's why I think this feature should be in the game. It's difficult sometimes to really figure out and hone in on, okay, what's the actual thing that's bothering this player, so then I can take that feedback to the developers and talk about it. So, yeah, I always have to roll my eyes a bit when someone, especially when you're as stuck up as to make your own personal Twitter the official Twitter for the game itself. It's basically saying, yeah, this game is me. I am this game.
Oh my God, it so is. Oh, yeah. God, it's gross.
Like, if Phil Fish changed his Twitter account, if it still existed, to be @Fez2 or whatever, like... That's the only way that someone, I think, could be more stuck up. And even then, he'd just be imitating what this other guy already did.
Pretty much.
So, yeah. So yeah, I'm not surprised that more people are currently playing Spore than No Man's Sky. But it's still sad. Yeah. And I feel bad for all of the other people that worked on that project that have basically done all that for nothing. And the gaming industry too. Sorry, I keep going on about this, but the gaming industry is so like, if you ship a bad title, you can't put that on your resume. You can't. Like, the guy who was the sure, the environments are beautiful in No Man's Sky, so the environment artist will be able to say, yeah, I was the environment artist on No Man's Sky, and that'll get him a job basically anywhere. Mm-hmm. But I was the quest programmer for No Man's Sky, or I was
any project manager is done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like you can't put that on your resume. You have to just be like, oh, and I didn't do anything for those years.
Yeah. I was project manager on No Man's Sky. Oh, you mean the one that was missing like a shitload of features? Yeah, we'll pass.
Yeah, exactly. I would actually be shocked if they had a project manager. Given how disorganized it is, either they had a really shit project manager who deserves to not get a job elsewhere, or there could be other circumstances as well, like Sean Murray or whatever his name is, didn't actually give the project manager any authority. So like there's certainly been situations where the project manager is like, hey guys, this really needs to be done today, and they're like, okay, yeah, after this round of Overwatch, and then shit doesn't get done. So there's situations, but still, it's like, if you're in that position right now, you are screwed. And when bad leadership can screw over that many people's careers by putting a bad game together, that sucks.
Yep. So, now that we beat that to death,
yeah.
Because we are passionate about the game.
Don't worry, more people are listening to this podcast than playing No Man's Sky right now.
That is not far from the truth. Once it's like that, oh god.
Wow, my cats are getting in an enormous fight right now.
Who is your cats? Is that what this sound? That's why you muted. I heard the mute and I was like, what is he doing over there?
Yeah, my cats are fighting.
All right.
I'm gonna throw something at him. All right, that solved it.
So wait, I mean, I think a good transition is this one. If you want to do it, can you do that?
I can try. I'll do my best. I make no promises.
Okay.
So speaking of shit that sucks on Steam, I don't know enough about this topic to get into it.
Okay.
So why don't you take this one?
Sure. So I mean, I won't do the transition, but okay. ARK released a paid DLC. They're still in early access, right? And they released paid DLC while in early access, and that has infuriated a good deal of people. ARK has been in early access for over a year, like about definitely over a year at this point. So it went from being a mixed review game, which I'd imagine a lot of that is probably like performance optimization. ARK is a beautiful game when you crank it up. Unfortunately, there's not a computer on the planet that can support it because it's not optimized for that. Now, that was the last time I played, which is about 2.5-3 months ago. So maybe something since then. But yes, they have put out a paid DLC for the game. They do have the ARK, the survival series. I can't remember what it's called, but they have like an ARK kind of King of the Hill type game or something for that's also released. And so, from the perspective of the player, for somebody who really likes and enjoys the game, they're probably looking at this like okay, like can you like just finish the fucking game first before before trying to sell me more shit to layer on top of it that's going to break it, like give me a break. So this is kind of interesting, right? Not just because they released a DLC for it, which that by itself is like, okay, two sides to it. They probably need money, right, to continue development and to make development easier and get more devs or whatever. They probably need that money, right? The other side, though, I think is probably the more interesting side is the is why is it even allowed that on an early access game you have DLC?
Yeah, that's actually like a really like this is the sort of thing where maybe Steam needs to be policing this sort of stuff a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a free to play game, I kind of get that. Like if it's early access, quote unquote early access on Steam, and so you need to be able to build out your microtransaction thing, like that I kind of get in a way.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like, hey, here's our early access game, and here's an expansion to our early access game, I was like, what? But the actual game isn't out yet. Why are you selling me an expansion to it? And I think like we've talked a lot about early access on this show, but I think this is a good indication of when you fuck up early access, you get in this situation where, oh shit, we need money to be able to continue developing the actual game. So in order to do that, we have to develop this DLC. But now by doing that, like it's sort of a death spiral at that point.
Yeah.
By spending the time to develop this DLC, they now have spent less time on the actual game. And maybe it's different people, maybe it's not, I'm not sure. But now they had to get more money out of their player base and get more money out of their player base. And eventually, like, they just can't keep up. Like, every time, I would not be surprised in the slightest to find that putting out this DLC delayed the actual game release. And maybe ARK is just treating early access like release. Like, a lot of early access games have done that, and then they're sort of stuck in the point where they're like, shit, at what point do we take the early access tag off? Like, I honestly think there are several games out there whose strategy is, we don't feel like fixing bugs, so we'll just call it early access forever. And people will say, yeah, it's early access, so it doesn't mind that this shit doesn't work.
We
Doesn't matter that
this
this shit
like
doesn't work
1,000
properly.
times over the past, 5 years.
Yeah. But it's like, it's still an issue, and it's still constantly happening, where you just, like, how long did fucking Google Docs have the little beta icon on it?
Wait, I'm in it
or
right
Gmail
now.
even.
Wait,
yeah.
Did they take it off?
I think they did finally take it off. But like Gmail, Gmail had that up there for like 8 years. Like, what? And a lot of that is, once you're in that position, like, removing that is sending a message that says, we think our product is finished. We think our game is done. And when it sits too long with it up there, the longer you sit in early access, the more of a big deal it is to your existing player base. Like, the less of a deal it becomes to people that aren't playing your game that you come out of early access. Because right now, if someone said, oh, ARK Survival Evolved, yeah, that just released, I was like, what? No, that released like 2 years ago. Like, what are you talking about? Because I am not really super involved in that gameplay. But for the actual players, removing the early access tag is a big deal, because that's essentially the developer saying, okay, we're finished. So you get to this point where there is no value in removing that early access tag anymore. It becomes less and less and less valuable to do an actual quote unquote release, because you're not going to bring in new customers. And all you're going to do is piss off your existing player base.
Yep. Yeah, it's you're right. There's no value for them to go 1.0. Yeah, there's from the Steam perspective, it's like, can Steam create a feature that, because I feel like the way Steam is set up, DLC is covered. It's just basically a blanket thing. It's like, what item do you want to attach to this, right?
Yeah.
Because under DLC, you find soundtracks. You know, like that. Look at your DLC list for some of these games. The soundtrack is there.
Yeah.
Like, some people want to sell the soundtrack along with the game, and that's fine. But
yeah, that's awesome.
But Steam's system is basically, they're setting themselves up for failure, because if early access, if you have a game that's in early access and you want to also sell the DLC, the soundtrack, that's fine. That's not DLC, right? That should be classified different. So what I'm saying is, like, this would require Steam to actually put in some work and changing something as part of their platform, which would basically change everything. They'd probably have to figure out how to go through and dig out the tags, all the soundtracks, and remove them from the DLC tag or whatever, and then put them in. Like, I can imagine it's probably a huge mess, and it sucks, because I feel like an early access game, under very few circumstances, should be allowed to have paid DLC. Like, Warframe has booster packs, right? Warframe's a free-to-play game, and it has booster packs. And with those booster packs, they sell skins, right?
Yeah.
That's man, that's a tough one. I don't even know how do I go from saying under very few circumstances do they have paid DLC, and then Warframe's free to play. Never mind. Fuck, there it is. Warframe's free to play. So I'm trying to think of a game that I paid for that has DLC that made it worth it. That's in early access. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, like it's even fine in my mind if a free to play game goes into early access and it costs you $20 to get into early access because you have to buy a founder's pack or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Like that I'm actually still okay with. And I don't know why particularly. It's probably just a sense of like, okay, I kind of understand that I'm now paying for a free game, but I want to get into the early access. Mm-hmm. And honestly, with a free to play game, after you get through that initial wave of people who are like, fuck yes, I'll spend $40 to play your game early on. Like there's a very strong incentive for those developers to get out of early access as quickly as possible because they want to be able to get more players in that aren't going to dump that. Like there's a point where there are people that will give them money if they can play the game, but they won't give them money to play the game, if that makes sense. Like they'll totally like what I'm trying to think of a great example. Like League of Legends. Say League of Legends came out in a year and was right now in early access. And the only way to get into League of Legends right now is to spend $40 to buy their like champion pack or whatever. I'm just using League as an example because people generally understand how that model works. After a certain amount of time, people will stop buying the champion pack and they'll say, okay, at this point, we want to get more people into our ecosystem, so we need to come out of early access and release the game so that now we can get people in here who are going to play for free, but they're going to get hooked on it, and then they're going to want to spend money to get skins and so on. So if you're if your final state is a free-to-play game, there really is a strong incentive to say, at this point, we will come out of early access. There's a really strong incentive to get out of early access as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Because the amount of time you're going to spend in early access is no matter what, because of the development, the way the development works. Unless you've already finished the game and you're just dicking around with early access to be an asshole. The time it's going to take you to develop the game to a releasable point is longer than the amount of time it will take for all of your like core audience to buy the early access pack. For a box model game like ARK, there's no difference between release model income and early access income, except maybe they can charge more for release model. But how many people are going to buy a game that's been out for 2 years, that's been accessible for 2 years for $10 more than it was before?
Yeah.
Like if you haven't already bought ARK, you're not going to buy ARK. You're just not. So yeah, I agree that I think the solve here is Steam needs some more restrictions on what early access means. They don't have to be hard restrictions, like automatic restrictions, but even something like your game has been in early access for a year. What's going on? And at that point, if you haven't come out of early access, they investigate it and you can apply to continue early access. But if that doesn't work, then they say, okay, either you come out of early access or we take your game down and refund everybody.
That's a extreme, but
I mean, I think there needs to be more, because a lot of times what'll happen in these early access games is they start out with an idea of we're going to do these 5 features and then we'll release.
Yeah.
And then when they start developing, they go, ooh, yeah, but what if we you know what, we just got a whole bunch of money because a whole bunch of people bought our game for early access, so now we can add these 12 other features. And it's really, really easy for an inexperienced developer, which most of the time is what you see in early access. It's really easy for an inexperienced developer to look at this big amount of money they just got, go, holy shit, we've struck gold, we need to make this game even better, and completely lose sight of their timeline and say, all right, we're going to be in early access for 3 years, but then we'll release, and the game's going to be so good when it releases that everybody will give us money. And because they're not economists, they don't realize how stupid that sounds.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going through the early access list, and I've gone to the very end, to the depths, right? And in terms of games that we recognize, I recognize some of these games as not being supported anymore. But like, then I come across Space Engineers. It's been in early access. Next month, 2 years, no DLC.
Yeah.
Project Zomboid, been in early access in this November, 2 years, no DLC. Rust, we all know Rust. It's been in early access for almost 2 years, no DLC. I'm just going through the list here. It's like, here are all these games that we've both played, and there's no DLC. Here's Daisy.
Yeah. Well, and
Daisy's a bit of a unique story.
Yeah. And my argument would be that all of those titles you've just said could have removed the early access title ages ago if someone had said, no, you have to fucking launch.
Yeah.
Like, they could have, like, Space Engineers could have fixed up its netcode and finished up its bugs and everything if they'd taken the time that they spent on coming up with planets and whatever other new features they came out with on making the initial game work, and then add that shit in later. Not only could they have come out of early access ages ago, but they could have released that as a DLC and made even more fucking money off the same amount of work. It's literally just the problem of indie game devs tend to be inexperienced, and sometimes they happen across the right way to release a title. A lot of times they don't.
Yeah.
And that literally, like, I say inexperienced, not as a mark against people who indie developers at all. It's something that you really have to have spent time in. Like, I would not want to be in charge of releasing a game because I know I would fuck that up. It's just like I think if Steam really wants to support indie devs, sometimes the support they need is someone telling them, all right, release your shit.
Kick in the pants. Fuck yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just as a side note, amusing side note, the oldest game in the early access program right now is Air Mech. November 8, 2012.
Wow, it's still in early access?
It's free to play.
Yeah.
It's free to play, and it's got 2 items under their DLC section. One is a starter pack for $9.99, like we talked about, right? That makes sense. And then the other one, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And there's the problem. Steam is just, I don't think they're ever going to be able to solve this by limiting deal, unless they just do it like they grandfather in all these games. These, let's see, 106 pages of games. How many per? 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, I fucked up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so there is basically 1,000 games in early access. They could grandfather them all in and create a new system that separates them, and then say, hey, guess what? No DLC until you release. You can have a soundtrack, but that's it.
Yeah. Or even like, because I know Steam has an approvals process for stuff that goes on it. Mm-hmm. If you like, have people submit their DLC for approvals.
There you go.
I don't know, like, I don't know enough about Steam's process to be able to say for not if that actually just kills everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, somebody would have to do something is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's solvable, and I think it's Steam's problem to solve, basically. Not because Steam is causing the problem, but because the indie devs aren't going to fix it.
Yep. And
wow, seriously, Air Mech's still in early... That is the definition of you cannot come out of early access now as Air Mech.
Right. They're holding the oldest position. They can't relinquish the throne. They have to hold it forever.
Pretty soon it's going to be like an advertising campaign. Longest running early access game on Steam.
With frequent updates. I mean, because they do. They still update it.
Yeah, and that game has... And this is the other side of it, too, like why I'm actually really in support of Steam just saying, hey, look, you're not in early access anymore, is Air Mech has been release quality for... Jesus Christ,
very long
5
time.
Years.
When was my BFF report on that? Because it was release quality then.
Yeah, it has been really good for a long time.
2012, August 23rd.
Yeah, like someone needed to just go to Carbon Games and be like, hey, so you guys should just release this because it's good.
And they'll be like, yeah, we didn't realize we were still in early access. I guess maybe we should.
Yeah.
They're holding out. There's gonna be a major campaign at like the I don't know, the bicentennial or something like that up there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
So speaking of early access, by which I mean speaking of the same story we've heard over and over and over again on this podcast.
Oh.
By which I mean just general repetition. The new iPhone was announced. And it's the same as every other iPhone before it, as usual. No, this one's different. This one's different.
Is different. Yes.
There's no headphone jack. Instead, you get an ear cigarette.
Oh my god.
So, okay. What do they call them? AirPods? That's a stupid name.
Yeah, AirPods. Yep.
Yeah, that's a stupid name. The one thing from Steve Jobs' legacy that really needed to stick around was calling things i something, because now it's Air something, and that's just dumb. Or Apple something. Like the Apple Pencil. No, fuck you. Shut up. That's my hipster rant. But no, the ear cigarettes, they're actually, the way they're built is actually correct. Like, this is the right way to make this sort of thing. The problem is Apple's aesthetic is white thing. And when you have white thing with a little bit on the end, it looks like a cigarette. It literally, someone sent me a picture of it. I wasn't watching the announcement live. Someone sent me a picture of it, and at first glance, I thought someone had just shoved a cigarette in their ear.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
So there's some cool shit about the AirPods. At the same time, there's like some like first off, the cool part is the charging mechanism. The charging mechanism is the little holster that it comes in. That's cool. Like you could. That's the problem with like old Bluetooth headsets is that you use them. I mean, obviously nobody uses it anymore, but you used to use them and then they would die. They have to plug them into the USB in your car or wherever, right, in order to charge them. And so what they did was they like, fuck it, we just put a tiny ass battery on it, and then you can when you're not using them, you just shove them in this little like tiny fob size unit, and it'll charge them. That's cool. Yeah. That's great. Okay, awesome. You found a solution for these two things. The problem is that we're gonna fucking lose them. Like, not everybody's ear is the same. I don't need to explain this, right? Yes, they're not all the same. For me, I have to usually step, like one side is a little bit, for some reason, larger than the other, but just enough that some headphones will just, on one side it's just a little loose, the bass just isn't quite punchy enough, right? And so I have to use the next size up, the plunger. Apple doesn't provide that. They have a, one size fits all. This is the
size of your ear,
Oh my God. One size fits all.
It's because everybody that, I'm going to make a snarky joke about how everyone that follows iPhone products is a clone. They're all the same. It's not a great joke, but I needed to get that in there.
That was good. I know. I knew you'd love this one, being an Android user and whatnot.
I'm not even an iOS hater at all. Like, I have an iPad. I love my iPad.
Sure.
Like, I think Apple makes really, really good products. And also sometimes they make really, really shit products.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes they make some crazy decisions. And there's been times in the past when there's like, oh yeah, that's really dumb. Like, why would you ever do that? And everybody loved it ultimately. I want to say even the iPad. People, I remember the iPad when it came out.
People talk shit about it.
People were like, why? I already have an iPhone. Like,
why would I want a bigger iPhone? Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
why would you call it pad? It sounds like someone's menstrual cycle.
But I don't feel like this is something that's going to catch on, because it's not something that everybody else. Samsung's not gonna be like, fuck it, yeah, let's remove the jack, because what are they saving? Oh, I can listen. It's stereo. Woo! Oh, both speakers are on the same side of the thing still. Okay, so I could watch vertical videos that were recorded with a mono mic in stereo. the fuck? And like when they brought up somebody to play a game, right? It was a good looking game. It was demonstrating the graphics, and she kept talking about the high color gamut and blah blah blah. And then she says, "Oh, and this sounds so amazing on stereo." I'm like, "Bitch, you can't fucking hear it in stereo. It's all coming out of left side, like because you're playing the game sideways. It doesn't work that way, you know."
It's like when people used to complain on YouTube that videos weren't in 1080p. So people would just take their 720p, up-res it, put it in 1080p. It's exactly the same as watching the 720p, but people are like, oh man, it's so much clearer. Oh, it's so much clearer in 1080p. Thank you so much for this. It's so much clearer.
Yeah, and the picture they had with like removing the, you get more battery life too. I should mention that. You also get more battery life. Like an additional hour or something like that, which is, you know, there are times every single night I'm in here on my phone. By the end of the night, and every time I go to bed, I am always at like 10%. It's always like, help, plug me in, right? Every single fucking night. And if I had an additional hour, maybe I can stay up later, you know. But it's perfect for what I need right now. But I get it. Like some people are heavy users, and it's going to they're gonna appreciate the extra hour. The Pokemon Go players will appreciate the extra 5 minutes they get from that new battery or that bigger battery.
If only there was some sort of peripheral that's existed for iOS or iPhones for the past like 8 years that adds another like 8 hours of battery life to it.
Yeah, well, that's obviously always an option. Not everybody wants to do that. The camera was really fucking cool. Like
the dual
the depth sensing.
Yeah, exactly.
That was actually, if it works the way they demonstrated it, where it actually does sense depth and it's able to do all that, and then also the wide versus telephoto like lens switching. Yeah, that is fucking cool.
Yeah, that is really really cool. I love it on my LG G5 that came out a year ago.
Oh, does it have it?
Yes.
I didn't even know. See? And this is the thing. It's like, you know, I am an iPhone user, and when I say that, I have to really kind of like throw some air quotes because I have an iPhone 5S that is now like archaic, right? It is crazy old, but I refuse to upgrade because it still works for me. I don't look at other phones because if I do upgrade, it's going to be one of my wife's hand-me-downs because she's going to get the new phone.
Right.
so I didn't even know that was a thing on other cameras. So, but that's the thing. It's like there are other people that are like me who don't pay attention to other platforms, and so when they see this announcement, I was like, wow, that's fucking cool. I didn't know you could do that. That's crazy. That's like Intel RealSense in your phone. That's crazy. And you're like, yeah, it came out like a year ago. I'm like, well, I'm an asshole. There it is. But other people aren't being told that because they live in these like micro, like, you know, these micro communities that are just like, Steve Jobs, I'm jerking you off from across the grave, or whatever. Like, and they're not hearing it.
And even inside the Android micro, what's the word I'm looking for? Ecosystem.
Yes.
Like LG phones aren't the popular ones that ever. Like everybody knows when Samsung comes out with something new, but LG is just kind of like, what's LG? Like the only reason I even knew this phone existed was because I read Android blogs because I'm a nerd. So yeah.
And see, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. It also has a really clever solve for almost clever solve for the battery life issue, which is the battery is almost hot swappable. So I have two batteries, and I have a little charging case that one of them sits in, and I can really easily like. It's almost like reloading the magazine. Like I can pop out the bottom of my phone, swap in a new battery, and just go. The only issue is that they didn't, for whatever reason, think to put a like tiny, like just tiny built-in battery in the thing, so it powers the phone off when I do that. If they had put just a tiny battery in there that could last 30 seconds,
it
would have been flawless. It would have been amazing.
Hot swappable, that'd been great.
Oh yeah,
The big, I think the big win for Apple. I mean, there are some really cool iOS things or not iOS, but Mac OS things that were like came out. But it's just like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's just like every OS gets an update, adds cool shit that you're never gonna use. The what's it called? Mario is coming out on. It's a Mario auto runner. Did you see the video for it?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, it's an auto runner, but it's not just like a run and jump. It's like run, jump, climb off walls, and like you choose. It's just it looks like a lot of fun, and it's a good sign for Nintendo. Like Nintendo,
yes,
kind of
that's definitely true.
Dipping its toes in the water with Pokemon Go, right? And now just going basically full bore with Mario. Like, man, like there's already so many fucking racing games on iOS. Fucking put Mario Kart on there, like Mario Kart Go or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mario Kart, you already can just pick up the controller and with one button play the entire game by like leaning it back and forth in your hand. Yeah. That's literally how every racing game works on a phone. Just port that shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Mario being in an auto runner, like the game, sure, it looks like it's going to be a really good auto runner, and I believe that it's a really good auto runner, and you're absolutely 100% correct that it is good for Nintendo to start thinking about maybe we don't need to only ever sell things for our own platforms. Yep. But at the same time, Mario in an auto runner, to me, that kind of comes off the same way as like when Vanilla Ice decided he was going to release a metal album. It's like, okay, you did this thing really good. Why are you trying to do whatever the new hotness is? Like,
wait, you don't think it's? Go
no,
ahead.
I think it'll be good. I think it's fine. It's just that sort of like, I don't know, man. When you like see a 50-year-old dude.
Oh my god, sup fellow kids? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hello, fellow kids. I'm also a child. Let's play the video games.
No.
It comes off to me as, I don't know if Mario, king of platformer, now creating the most simplistic, like Mario invented they didn't invent it, but like built what the platformer should be.
Yes,
like
sure.
Platformers would not be what they are if Mario Brothers had never released.
Right.
And now autorunners are kind of like this new weird mainstream, like, I don't know, man. It's like if you saw fucking Bill Nye wearing skinny jeans. Like, this is not right.
Man, I think no. No, it's I definitely think this is good, and I should also know. Yes, the Rhoda, the Miitomo. That's right, the Miitomo.
Oh, that's true. Avatar.
Yeah. That everybody was on. Like everybody was talking about it,
for about 3 hours. Yeah.
People. I know, but in that time, there were people hitting me up like, "Hey, how come you didn't create your thing yet, or whatever? Or why? I guess because I didn't talk about it, right?" And yeah. I was like, I don't do shit with my phone. I basically it's Reddit, porn, calorie tracker, Fitbit, that's it. that's and Google Maps or something. But yeah, that's pretty much all my phone gets used for. So and now the WoW companion app. Fuck you. But no, I think this is great. I think it's another step in the right direction. They're gonna get a huge market with this. I'm gonna download this and let my kid play it, and it's gonna be his first platformer.
I absolutely want this to be a success because I absolutely want Nintendo to quit fucking around with home consoles and just release their games on like PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want Nintendo to stick to handhelds, which they kick ass at handhelds.
Yes.
And leave the
Sega route with everything else.
Yeah, exactly. They're not quite the Sega route. They should also make sure their games are actually good.
Sega, I want to say Sega's had some good games.
Apparently, Sonic and All Stars Racing is
the
really
best.
Good.
It is the fucking best.
Yeah.
Sonic All Stars Racing Transform is just the shit.
I
know. Yeah, you say that, but no. Next time it's on
Sega,
I played. Buy that shit.
I played the demo. Ironically, I played the demo on Wii U, but I actually thought it was pretty good. It was just I played it a week before Mario Kart came out. And I was like, yeah, this is good, but Mario Kart's coming out in a week, so why would I buy this?
But yeah. Well. And then immediately following that was the PS4 PS4 Pro announcement.
Yes. Which surprised no one.
Yeah, going into it, I was hoping that they'd call it the PS4K.
Yeah.
Coming out of it, I'm glad that they didn't. So I think that
because it doesn't have what is it? It doesn't have Blu-ray 4K support or something like that.
Yeah. So I made a tweet about Apple buying Beats and then 2 years later removing the headphone jack from their phone.
Yeah.
Their most popular music playing device. And then when Sony didn't announce, or when someone pointed out that Sony does not support Blu-ray, like I was like, that's their format. Like Sony is like synonymous with Blu-ray back, 10 years ago, whatever, 12 years ago, when there were like all the wars and everything about Blu-ray versus HD DVD and Philips and Sony and all this. Like it was huge, and now it's like, well, they won. It's their format. And it's not on there. And that wouldn't be such a big deal. Excuse me. That wouldn't be such a big deal if they don't include a Blu-ray 4K player. If it wasn't for the fact that fucking Xbox is doing it. The Xbox Slim is going to support it. And it's like, if the Xbox Slim did not have, it would not be a big deal. Even now, technically, it's not a big deal because no one's going to fucking use it, right? Like,
nobody has a 4K TV right now.
Well, there's that. And on top of that, like, you buy discs and then you enter the code in so you could stream it, right? You buy the disc when they're on sale, like, because you want to have archival quality footage or something like that for whatever it is. And you may watch it once, but you're sure as shit not like going through your collection and rewatching things over and over again. More than likely, a lot of them, you downloaded the ultraviolet code and then you downloaded the fucking video, the streaming quality version or whatever. And that's kind of it. Like, it's just not something that I feel like everybody uses a lot. The PS3 with the Blu-ray player, we use the shit out of that because streaming sucked. But now you can stream, you can stream at 4K. Granted, it's not like crazy popular yet, but it's possible. But streaming at 1080p, super easy, piece of cake. You do it to your phone. So of course you can do it to your TV.
Yeah, and by the time that 4K TVs really start to take hold, Netflix will be in 4K, Hulu will be in 4K. Like those guys are literally just waiting for there to be enough of a market to go for it. So
Netflix already has 4K support.
Oh, it does? Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go.
For not everything, obviously, is not scanned.
Sure,
but like they already have 4K support.
They probably don't have 4K support for like Star Trek: The Next Generation.
No.
But yeah, like I no, totally. Like when the PS3 came out, like everybody said, yeah, but it's the cheapest Blu-ray player. Like the PS3 was sucking balls compared to the 360. They were getting shit on by Microsoft. And it was like, yeah, but it's still worth it because it's the cheapest way to get a Bluray player. It was like,
it was okay, like one of the most feature-packed Blu-ray players on the market too.
Yeah, exactly. But 4K Blu-ray, like, so I'm not a member of the 4K cult, partially because my eyes suck, so I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway. But also because I just haven't felt like buying a 4K television. But I still I just don't really care that it doesn't have built-in 4K. And apparently it's not that the hardware can't support it, it's just that the software can't decode it. Like the hardware is more than there inside the 4K, so it's theoretically possible that they could patch it in later. Like it wouldn't be the first time they've patched in major features to a PlayStation. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to buying another PlayStation.
Yep.
I do need another one.
I am not. I'm not even looking forward to firing up mine for Rise of Iron.
I am.
I still haven't fired anything up yet.
When does Rise of Iron come out?
It's got to be like middle of this month. I remember it's coming around my birthday.
It's like the 23rd or something.
Yeah. I think right when like the season, like the new PvP season starts.
Yeah, I remember looking at it and going, "Shit, raids open that week."
Oh man.
Mythic Plus opens that week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be late to Rise of Iron.
Again.
Yeah. No. fucking Oryx, whatever it was called, Taken King. I was playing that day of. I had to fucking buy it twice to do it because UPS decided they weren't going to deliver my PlayStation. But yeah, I'm sad. Like I have almost my my PvP moment of triumph finished. I just need to basically play a bunch of random PvP at this point. Like I don't have to do anything in particular. I just have to play games, and then I'll finish that off. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do that. What with all of the Legion I need to be playing right now. Not even need to, like, just want to be playing right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good, the whole Legion thing.
I think so.
It's definitely gotten me more than WoD, when I got into WoD, it was like, oh cool, I have this garrison thing. I'm just gonna focus on this garrison, and then my next goal was, all right, cool, I have all this garrison stuff built. All right, now I'm gonna craft my own armor, and then I'm done. And that was it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really. I think I got burnt out because everything that I had to do was in the garrison,
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. And while there are still garrison-esque features with the class halls in Legion, the world quest system.
Oh, it's so good.
That you guys totally ripped off of Diablo. I hope those guys sue your asses.
It's a little bit different, but not much. You're right.
It gets people out of the class halls. It gets them out into the world and doing things. And so what happens is the world feels alive. It's not a fucking ghost town after the first week of everybody power leveling themselves through all the content.
Yep.
And that's great.
It's huge. Yeah, like it. So much of what happened in Legion boils down to level scaling in zones, because the fact that you can do the zones in any order is almost like a weird side effect of the important thing, which is the mobs in the zone scale to your level, which meant that when the designers were putting stuff together, they didn't have to worry about like this carve off this section over here and this will be the max level section. Like you remember Warlords had the Apexis dailies, and those were always max level, and those were in all the different zones. But the problem was they were in like, all right, there's this pit in Gorgrond, or there's this bunch of ogres in Frostfire.
Yeah, these small like set aside areas just for those.
Yeah,
that was
and so
going to the same places all the time.
Yeah, and so that meant that, yeah, exactly, it was the same places all the time. It was always the same thing. Whereas with the world quests, they were able to go, okay, we get to use the entire fucking map.
Oh, man.
And we can put shit anywhere that we want because everything will scale to your level. And we can just come up with weird shit for you to do. Like, oh, you're going to go to this town and kick squirrels and crack nuts. Sweet. Yeah. Go for it. Or, you know what, we decided that these guys over here, you need to go beat them down again. All right, I am all over that. And the most important thing is that it means that every time I log into the game, I have something to do. Like, when I sit down and go, I would like to play some World of Warcraft, I don't have to go, should I run a dungeon that I don't need the gear from? Should I
go Pexis quest? Did I do the same thing I did 2 days ago?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, oh, I'm gonna look at the world quests that are up, and oh, there's one over here for a relic that I want, or you know what, I need artifact power, so I'm gonna go do a whole bunch of artifact power stuff. Oh man, it's so good. Like, it's crazy. I was kind of tweeting about this last night. It was pretty late last night, but I started to get a little bit emotional and like overwhelmed with how excited I am about this expansion. And I was like, I think this is the first time, literally ever, that I feel like I can take the game at my own pace, but that's what I should be doing. Right? Like, I don't feel like, and I think it's just, at least for me and the way that my brain works, the fact that there's so much shit I could be doing, and there's so many different ways to advance my character, I know that I'm not going to complete all of it. I know that I'm not going to sit down and have my list of stuff to get done by the time that I log off. That list of stuff doesn't exist. Like I don't sit down and go, okay, I need to do my garrison shit. I need to send out my followers on missions. I need to upgrade this building. I need to do this dailies. I need to do some Apexa stuff, and then I'll be done with my wizard chores. It's more like, okay, I sit down and here's a bunch of stuff that I can do. I'm not going to finish all of it. So I get to pick and choose from all of these different options, and I'll pick the one that I feel like doing right now. All right, I feel like running a mythic dungeon. Okay, that's what I'll do. And it's not like it's actually really crazy. I don't feel like I am missing out or doing the wrong thing at any point. Mm-hmm. And maybe that'll come eventually, like maybe in a couple of months. Like, but everything scales up as well. So like it's crazy, man. Like in a couple of months the world quests will be much more lucrative. So they'll still be worth going and doing. Yeah. Or maybe I'll eventually get around to, like, I've been going hard on my mage. Maybe I'll eventually get around to leveling up one of my alts, and I'll have another entire game to play as a result of that. I don't know, man. Like, I'm obviously biased. I work for the company.
Sure.
But just from a player perspective, I love this expansion so much.
I think that there is... there's an argument here that this is the best, like, questing, basically, like, just general progression experience in terms of, you know, every day you're doing something, you're adding more of this, whatever. It's always a grind. Every MMO is a grind, right? Like, yeah. Right now it's like, okay, I clicked on the stupid upgrade thing that's gonna take 7 days. Okay, now I need more order resource. I gotta do this and whatever. But it's like, at least the thing that you're doing isn't the same damn thing that you just did. Yeah. You know, and that's the part that I hated about WoD, and why I was just like, you know what, like, I'm done. Like, I need all these Apexes craps, and I don't feel like going and finding a group and running around and hitting these things and this stupid.
Oh, it's Shatrath again for the 12th time. Yeah.
Oh man, you know, and it's like, eventually I will get tired of doing the quest, but at that point it'll be because I'm tired of all the zone, like, as an entirety, right? Like I'll be done with, like, I'm so done with, you know, that entire zone. Not I'm so done with this one city or this one pit. Yeah. So yeah, it makes Squishy Pride. It makes the grind less painful, and that's the biggest thing about MMOs. Make the grind less painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm really hopeful for this expansion. I'm still sort of waiting for, like, the other foot to drop, and someone will be like, "But what about this?" And then, oh shit, okay, now this is a serious problem or something. But it hasn't happened yet, and I'm excited about that. Mm-hmm. We're doing a live Q&A tomorrow, though. So, well, by the time most people hear this, we've already done a live Q&A. But
it might be happening right now.
Yeah. PAX was fun. I went to PAX, and I did I hosted a panel. First time I've done something like that at a convention. It went really, really well. I was really pleased. Not least because we got to do and it's coming out next week with the app. Like, it was so okay, here's a fun story. A whole bunch of shit from the app got data mined ages ago. Like, in the game, things that tie a bunch of the data for the app ended up in the game files. Yeah. And a bunch of that shit got data mined, and it was up on Wowhead. And they were like, look at all these new icons and blah 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 and stuff like that. No one made the connection. This is for a phone app. So for the past 6 months, we've just been every day going, did anyone figure out the app yet? Did anyone figure out the app yet? Oh god. They're gonna figure it out. They know we're gonna talk about stuff at this panel. They're gonna look and they're gonna figure it out. You guys, they're gonna find it. And no one found it. And it was right there the whole time. And so we went and we did the panel at PAX. I was a little bit disappointed. I kind of wanted to do the Hearthstone thing of, you remember, I don't remember which expansion it was for Hearthstone, but they were and it's coming out before the end of the year, by which we mean it's coming out before the end of the month, by which we mean it's coming out tomorrow, sort of thing. I really wanted to be able to do that, but like being in that room with all those people, and Corey was talking about the app, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" And like we hadn't mentioned the date or anything yet, and I had somehow missed that. Like I just was like getting caught up in the moment and hadn't noticed that Corey hadn't said the date until after we ran the video and it came up on the screen. So it's like Corey's talking about the app. Here's what you can do with the app. There was some guy in the crowd who was like, "Thank you," and he was just like, "You're welcome." He was talking about it. Someone else shouted, "How much is it?" And he was like, "It's free." And the whole crowd went, "Oh!" Like it hadn't occurred. Yeah,
well,
like
yeah,
it hadn't. Yeah, exactly. Like it hadn't occurred to me that people might think you had to pay for it.
Oh my gosh.
Some people did. So when it was free, everyone was like, "Woo, yay, it's free. We get it for free." And then we played the video, which was awkward because I'm now standing there in a convention hall while a bunch of people are listening to me doing my BFF report voiceover for video. And then the next slide comes up and it had the date on it, which was what, the 6th? Yeah, the 6th. And he's like, "And this is coming out on Tuesday," and the whole crowd went, it was so awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. I dropped the pen.
Oh, that's right. You guys did have a mobile service, the mobile thing. I guess I gotta make that.
Yeah, there was a time where you had to pay for the
$5 or whatever for the mobile AH or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was at the time that made sense, but right now, if you guys try to pull some shit like that, man.
Yeah. Well, and it's like it was long enough ago that I had forgotten.
And so did I until Cal brought it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, the only thing I kind of regret is that I only got to spend like 30 minutes at actual PAX. Which was my own fault. Like we went to the Twitch party. Which I found out like on my way to Seattle that Blizzard was sponsoring. So good job me paying attention. Mm-hmm. We were at the Twitch party. There was an open bar because it was a Twitch party. We all got a little bit drunk. It was like 1:30 and they were like, "Okay, we have to kick everybody out." So me, the WoW devs that were there, and like Swifty were like, "All right, let's go find another bar." So we went and found another bar, and like we were out until it ended up being out until almost 3. Get back to my hotel, crawl into bed, and my alarm goes off,
and then you go to sleep. Okay,
I go to sleep, and then my alarm goes off like 3 hours later, and I seriously, I picked up my phone, the alarm was going off, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like actually mad at my alarm for going off. Because I just had not gotten any real sleep at that point. We had to do a rehearsal like super early in the morning because it had to be before all the other panels started for the day. Got in there, did our rehearsal, went back, slept for an hour, went back in, still hungover as fuck, did the panel, managed to conjure up enough adrenaline to get through the panel without looking dead the entire time. As soon as the panel finished, immediately felt dead, went back to my hotel again, slept until 5 o'clock, woke up, went, shit, I should probably, because I was only up there for the one day, I should probably go to the actual convention. Got to the convention at like 5:30, just in time for them to go, "The convention will be closing in 30 minutes. So I was like, oh shit, got to do the fastest walk around PAX ever just to see what it's like. And then I left.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I too will be, speaking of Twitch, and also speaking of only going to a convention for probably 30 minutes, I'm going to TwitchCon.
Nice. Me too.
And are you? That's right. You did mention that you are going.
Yep.
I may or may not see you.
Oh.
No. I am going to make it to the floor for sure. It's just I booked a shoot with Pocket.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've actually, because we just worked out the details. I was kind of like not really talking about it, hinting here and there, whatever. Maybe even officially mentioning it before and just forgetting that I've done that. But
yeah, I think you did on the last one of these shows.
Well,
that we did.
Well, there you go. That was 3 weeks ago. This is different now because we've actually worked out the details.
Nice.
And one of the, like, today was crazy. She had this insane idea and it was basically had to do with like doing a I don't actually want to spoil it, but it was basically we needed a thing that it was not in my Airbnb, and there was no way we were gonna find one, right? And so it was just like, all right, well, that's a cool idea, but you could probably find somebody in Austin or something to take care of that for you because that's not going to happen while you're out there. And she fucking found another hotel that had it. It's a tub. It's a special tub, right?
Right.
And so it was. It's all just like, and so we were going through and we're freaking this out, and we basically laid out like so many ideas and so many things, and so basically, yeah, it's confirmed. Like we're definitely gonna be shooting, and that's gonna happen before TwitchCon, which is smart. Right? You don't want to shoot after 3 days of like losing it up. You know, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I'm working on another shoot with somebody else and this one is gonna remain unannounced until we get the actual details down.
Right.
But yeah, I'm working on some notes with for another one, and it looks like it's probably gonna happen. So yeah, I might have another one, and so now it's like okay, so that's 2. Like, I still have plenty of time before TwitchCon. Like, am I gonna be able to like book myself solid with like Twitch streamers or something? I have no idea. Yeah. Because it's funny, like
do a shoot with Towley.
Yeah. I mean, I could. I would. I mean, not like what you're thinking, but but I could. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going through my usual channels like Model Mayhem and all that stuff. Like, it's fucking hard. Like, I'm reaching out to some of them, and like they're like, okay, yeah, well, I'm planning on going there, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna be in San Diego at the time. It's like, all right, well, fine, that's cool, But apparently, going through Twitch, it's like booking shoots, like easy. It's ridiculous.
Nice. Well, cool. I have to run.
Oh yeah, what time is it? Yeah, you have to go.
Yeah.
So have fun with that.
Yeah, we did it. We did a show.
We did
a good one.
An entire show.
We did a whole show.
Yep, a bit short, only an hour and 15 minutes, but
only about 15 minutes longer than they're generally supposed to be.
And then we always go over anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, bye.
Bye.